Good morning, Internet. Good morning, YouTube. This is Spiky Ankles. You can also call me Nathan or Nate. Alright, we're doing a Monster Train run. If you're not familiar with Monster Train, and let's be honest, you did not find Monster Train through me. You probably found me through Monster Train. So, Monster Train is a deck builder game in the lieu of Slay the Spire. However, unlike Slay the Spire, you are kind of the enemy, and your goal is to bring about Armageddon. But we're going to go ahead and start off today. Last time I did an Umbra Stygian Guard run. For this run, we can do... Let's change it up, do a Hellhorned Umbra run. We'll go with Covenant 4. Let's see, what do we have to start with? We're doing Seraph the Chaste. So Seraph the Chaste will debuff all of your enemy, or let me rephrase that. Seraph will remove debuffs on its own units, as well as cleaning out the buffs onto your units. Now, buffs don't include things like armor, but it does include things like lifesteal, spikes, rage, and so on. And what are we starting with? We have Welder Helpers. So an imp that gives armor to your front end, to the front unit on your side. Tiresome Climb allows you to manipulate where the your units and the enemy units are located in terms of the floors of the train. Also applies Dazed to that unit. And Immortal Trade. Immortal Trade allows you to apply Lifesteal to a unit. Lifesteal means that your unit will restore the same amount of health as it does damage. And the number of lifesteal indicates how many attacks it gets before the lifesteal is removed. And it also applies Emberdrain, that's the negative effect. Emberdrain causes you to lose Ember. The number of Ember you lose is the number of Emberdrain which you have on that unit at the beginning of turn. And then it decreases by 1 every turn. Okay, so enough explanations on cards. Let's get into the run. I typically like to start with the artifact. I find it often can help define. In this case, getting extra pyre damage isn't so useful unless you have a lot of cards which allow you to take advantage of that extra damage. Now, we do have a Tiresome Climb, which could allow us to toss an enemy unit up into that pyre room for 2 turns, taking extra damage, and then getting an extra 15 damage. Quite likely that the unit will die to the pyre, so that would be 70 free damage. So 35 times 2 free damage at the beginning. That's pretty strong. Alternatively, we can get an extra Dazed, but then it does reduced damage from our pyre. But this is quite good for specific trials. There is a trial that enemies will start with units on every floor. This basically negates that trial by itself. I mean, not entirely, because you might end up putting your units out and they could take damage from the enemy units. But if you don't try to stop the units from entering your pyre room, it will negate that entire trial, making that basically a cakewalk, a free trial. I think we can do that. I mean, the goal is not to have enemy units get to our pyre. So, but in the off chance that one does, maybe we're able to kill it without taking pyre damage. Do we want the Slay or the Multi-Strike? So I typically find that early game Slay is quite useful because the enemies, or early in the battle, Slay is useful because the enemies have such low health. And with Multi-Strike, I don't have any buffs other than armor. So I think getting the Slay triggers early on will help me get through the early challenges or early trials and early battles, with the expectation that later we tack on Multi-Strike to take more advantage of the Slay triggers. Enemy units enter with 10 armor. This is an example where we have a lot of low health enemies. This enemy in particular, we don't need to worry too much about trying to kill. The main issue with the armor is going to be getting slay triggers on our prince, so very likely we'll put the prince on the top floor, try to put train stewards and use spells to get the units, to kind of soften them up before they get to the top floor, where then my Hornbreaker Prince can get slay triggers. We can also use Tiresome Climb to separate out the healer unit, who our Hornbreaker Prince can kill in a single attack. And basically with 2 slay triggers, maybe 3 slay triggers, we can almost kill the Forged Disciple in 1 attack. So let's give it a try. I think the unit draft early is very, very strong. Can help define the rest of your run depending on the unit that you get. So normally it's worth trying if you can to get these early trials. Alright, what do we want to do here? I think we start with, as said, the Hornbreaker Prince on the top floor. We for sure will want to do a Shade Splitter to get a morsel onto our Hornbreaker Prince. It doesn't do much. I guess we could start eating away at the armor on this Forged Disciple. We could just put the Welder Helper on the 2nd floor as a tank, or even on the top floor as a tank. But actually I want to save this space on the top floor to get more morsels for the Hornbreaker Prince in case we get some of the damage-based morsels or the health-based morsels. Let's put him on the 2nd floor to tank. We can put 2 Train Stewards behind him. And then we can do 1 torch just to soften up his armor. Normally, doing damage to this Forged Disciple isn't so useful just because he heals back that damage. But since it's doing damage against the armor, it's actually just fine because the armor doesn't restore at the end of battle or at the end of the round. As mentioned, I think the best play for us here is to put the healer up on the 2nd floor so that we can get a slay trigger with our Hornbreaker Prince. And we can be greedy and go for the Collector, or we can try to put more damage on the Forged Disciple and play the Train Steward. Let me think about the damage numbers here. So we know we're going to do 15 pyre damage to him when he reaches the pyre room, because he'll get dazed and then take 1 pyre shot. So that means in order to get him down low enough, he'll be at 47. He'll be doing 28 after the slay trigger, 47, 28, that puts him at 19. So we'll need to be able to do 4 damage to him next turn. 1 Train Steward would be enough to get him down, and we will for sure be drawing a Train Steward. So we'll get a Train Steward up on this top floor, and then we'll be fine with the Forged Disciple. Unfortunately, we won't get a 2nd slay trigger, but maybe there'll be an opportunity to sort that out later. Okay, so let's do... Oh, I miscalculated. I'm actually just fine with damage here. I can actually put this Train Steward, or do we do this, the Shade Splitter to try? Ah, that's right, because we got the extra Ember. I was like, why do we have enough Ember? Yeah, okay, so because we got that morsel which gave us extra Ember. Okay, so for sure we're going to do this. We'll do the greed play, and now the question is, do we want the Train Steward here? This will basically guarantee the Forged Disciple will die on the next floor. It'll also make the next Forged Disciple take additional damage. Or do we get the Shade Splitter to try to buff up our Hornbreaker Prince? I don't think we need the Hornbreaker Prince to be stronger than he is right now. So being able to guarantee that this guy's going to die to the pyre, I think makes a lot of sense. And then we can put more Train Stewards out next turn. We'll probably draw 2 Train Stewards. So then 28, 42 puts him at 14. So he'll definitely die to the pyre. Now the question is, we can mitigate some damage on our Hornbreaker Prince. put out 2 train stewards. I think we want to go that route. So we'll put a second train steward on the middle floor, taking out all of his armor. He'll heal back the 1 extra damage from the welder helper, but otherwise we take off all of his armor, putting him at 40 health. 26. I don't think there's going to be a way for us to outright kill this guy, but getting the second train steward, he'll be at 40. We'll be doing 28, 33, 34, and then he should also die to the pyre. So let's get Welder Helper as our tank to absorb some of the damage here. And we don't need to use Immortal Trade right now. So right, he'll die to the pyre. There's the boss. Taking 2 hits. We can get rid of his armor very early. 29, and then he'll die to the pyre. So we can do our train steward. He'll survive 1 attack. We can even give him an additional 5 attack. If we put Immortal Trade, or sorry, we'll take 8. Why is he dying right away? Oh, because he'll die before the second hit gets off, and even though they will... Even though he'll get the extra damage, it actually doesn't work. But if we apply Lifesteal 3, we get no benefit. Because he takes damage. Wouldn't he heal the damage? Well, let's watch this. Okay, so we know these guys are fine. They'll go up to the pyre floor and die. Did he not have lifesteal? A little bit confused on how that played out, but okay, it's fine. What do we want to do here? I think we can add more damage to the boss. Alternatively, we can try to put more damage on the priest so that he's not healing after every... Does he heal at the end of combat? I think we'll put the Emberdrain on our... We didn't even need it. I think we just try to take out this backliner. Oh, we can even use a tiresome climb on him to just get him out of the fight. So probably wasted those torches, but we're not going to have any issues defeating this boss. So we'll move him up to the top so that he'll die to the pyre. We can put some damage on him, even put some life drain or life steal. Doesn't matter. It's a pretty easy first floor. Glad we took the challenge. It required us to do a little bit of thinking to try to take out those Forged Disciples early on, but the benefit is now we get an extra unit, and I think that will help us out in the rest of the battle. I think Ascend is quite strong with our deck. We can try to stack up units around the Hornbreaker Prince, and in a kind of fringe benefit, we could also ascend Shade Splitters in case we want, in case we're already too full on the floor and we want to add some additional Shade Splitters. I'm mostly thinking about just trying to separate the enemies out early on to get Slay Triggers on our Hornbreaker Prince, who I think will stay on the top floor. So it's much more likely if we can get some of those low health units out from the rest, ascend them up to the top floor, where then our Hornbreaker Prince is getting Slay Triggers. I think that's the real benefit of that Ascend card for us now. Now, do we want Penumbra Assault or Mind Collapse? So Mind Collapse is quite good if you can get early magic damage. It's a way to take out a unit early so that you can get around stuff like Emberdrain. Because if you can get magic damage, then for 0 cost it will still do damage. Then you gain 2 Ember, which then you can use to play your other cards. Since we already have 1 Emberdrain, maybe we could even take... Actually, we have 2 Emberdrain cards. Maybe it would make sense that we could take additional ones later on, justifying it by saying we have Mind Collapse as an alternative, and if we could, let's say, we increase the magic damage by 10 and then additionally put holdover on it, then we're almost, I wouldn't say guaranteed, because there are going to be enemies that are going to be outside of that 10 damage limit, but that could mean that we could gain energy outside of our Emberdrain if we needed it. I think that case is worth trying. I don't think we want an Entumbra Assault. We're not really so far built around morsels. Now that could change, but the difficulty is always going to be doing enough damage with Entumbra Assault to take advantage of the Slay trigger. So I think Mind Collapse is a little bit more consistent. And now, what do we want to add? We don't currently get consistently enough mana to play the Demon Fiend. Alpha Fiend is quite strong. He gains damage every time he strikes. And he's got a little bit of health. Crucible Collector is also pretty good. The main issue is that he can get killed in a single hit. His whole design is that he sustains through lifesteal by stacking morsels behind him. He eats the morsels, he gains lifesteal, and continues to heal back the damage. But if you end up with a combination where he's taking a lot of damage and then either more damage than his health, or he's damaging into spikes, he can die before... I'm trying to remember the trigger order. I think spikes apply before lifesteal, so he would not survive if he attacked into spikes, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I think the Alpha Fiend is pretty good for us now. We can actually play him, which is a bonus, and he would be a good unit to try to continue to stack damage on while softening units up for our champion to get the Slay trigger. I think we still want to go for an Umbra unit early on to try and get a unit which benefits from gorging. And our spells, we talked about getting magic damage onto the Mind Collapse to make it more consistent, even using it at 0 cost. Reducing the cost of Tiresome Climb, getting holdover on a lot of different spells would be also quite strong for us. So I think let's go this left path. Getting a Morsel Maker, I think, makes more sense than the Crucible Collector for the same logic that I mentioned before. We actually don't get a lot of morsels right now, so it's going to be tough to get the Crucible Collector consistently with lifesteal, whereas getting a Morsel Maker guarantees that we will get some morsels every turn. We could even, because these morsels are guaranteed to be an attack and a health-based one, it would make a lot of sense to put him on the same floor as our Hornbreaker Prince, and we have then a few turns to upgrade the Hornbreaker Prince, making it more likely that he'll be able to get Slay triggers. So I think that's the play for us. And now let's see what we get on the spells. We can upgrade a spell with plus 20 magic power and consume. Putting that onto Mind Collapse with the idea that later we're able to remove the consume, or even as a one turn do 20 damage to an enemy unit and gain mana if it dies. So if we get this, we're really hoping that we were able to remove the consume later on, because the additional Ember cost, it kind of works funny, but basically it will take 3 damage off of the Mind Collapse if we played at 0. which I think is fine. So let's try that. Or do we wait and go for a big torch? Yeah, because I think getting plus 10 makes this more consistent. And a plus 10 plus holdover, I think, is a better setup than the plus 20 and losing consume. And then I think getting Tiresome Climb to 1 mana cost is very strong for us. We're going to have some issues now because we have 2 units that cost 2 mana or 2 Ember to play, that I think being able to get one of these guys out and being able to use our Tiresome Climb in the same turn could be quite important for us, and I don't want to get in that situation where we need to decide between one or the other, that we can still do both. Do we need permafrost at anything? Holding a Mind Collapse just for the time when we need it. Don't think it's worth it right now. And then we can remove at least 1 Train Steward. Actually, we can remove exactly 1 Train Steward, and let's continue on to the next battle. This is exactly what I mentioned before. So Mark of Invasion, at the start of battle, enemies appear on each floor. This is more or less negated by our Vapor Funnel, because they will get to the top floor and then immediately die. The only issue is going to be making sure our champion survives, but I think we will be just fine here. We could even reduce how many enemies are on that top floor if we get our Tiresome Climb or if we get an Ascend. They will start, these units that start will always start with 2 rage, so they're going to each do 5 damage. Our champion has, I believe, 8 or 6, so he can either absorb 1 attack himself, or we'll need to put a chump blocker ahead of him who can absorb more damage. So we would need at least a torch, an ascend, a torch, ascend, tiresome climb, train stewards or welder helpers all allow us to keep our Hornbreaker Prince alive. Even at worst, we can put an Alpha Fiend in front of him who can absorb up to 20 damage. So I think we're safe here. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. The 75 gold will be very useful as we continue down the train path, so to say. We did get an ascend and a torch. It does mean we can't play the Morsel Maker because he will die to the 10 damage. But as I said, we don't need all of them to survive. The biggest trick is going to be surviving the second. But then I think we have the chance to put some chump blockers in front, torch enemies, and so on. I think we're going to be okay here. Hoping we'll be okay here. It does mean we don't get to take advantage of the Morsel Maker, unfortunately, but I think the trade-off is still worth it. So we're going to kill one of them, ascend a second one so that it dies to the pyre, and then get the Slay Trigger on a third. The nice thing is that now these guys are doing reduced damage because they start with a Rage. And we should be able to play out our whole hand here. So the Demon Fiend can survive by himself on the top floor. Then we Mind Collapse to get the gold. And then I think we put a Train Steward. And instead of a morsel, I think doing tiresome climb here, it will increase his damage by 1, but it means that he will take damage. Question is, do we need that? If we tiresome climb the foot soldier, is 2 dazed, is 1 dazed, he'll dazed again. I think that that's the play. Get the foot soldier out, or maybe we shade splitter. I think any shade splitter would be good with our train steward here to buff him up. To give him some more damage, and because we really don't need to separate these guys out right now. I think we'll get one of our welder helpers to put armor on the train stewards. I think we can play it like this. So now our champion's quite strong. Unless there is a sweep unit, we shouldn't be at any risk of taking damage. They're going to kill the overcharged apprentice. May even want to put this on our alpha fiend just to get him back to full health. They're doing 6, so we can put another train steward, shade splitter, give him a damage shield. We can Emberdrain or Immortal Trade here so that he is healing back up. Not all the way to full, but pretty close. And we put a train steward on the belt. Excellent. Oh, spikes are going to be a problem. We really need to find a way to get our train steward, or sorry, our Hornbreaker Prince. We have 10. We will get Immortal Trade. The problem is going to be what applies first, spikes or the lifesteal. And we don't really have a way to test that. I mean, he will do one big attack, so very likely... And then here I think we want to take out... Getting 15 armor onto our train steward, or even onto our welder helper. How many spikes does he have? He has 2 spikes, and he has naturally spikes. So I think getting it on our train steward is going to make the most sense. So let's get him. We could get the morsel maker though. Is that going to really be any benefit? That's the question. We put that there. He still dies very quickly. I think we go like this. And heal back up. So ideally what we want is an ascend plus a lifesteal. We got exactly that. Okay. How do we want to play this? We need the lifesteal trigger on our Hornbreaker Prince just so that he can do multiple attacks without dying. Oh, but he won't because the Alpha Fiend will kill it before he has the chance to attack. That is a problem. So instead we'll put the Immortal Trade onto our Demon Fiend, or our Alpha Fiend. He'll continue to increase his damage and he'll heal for at least 3 turns. So we ascend him, Mind Collapse him, putting a mortal trade onto him, or would mean he'll be at 160. He will take at least the 58 damage. Should we do it for science? If we put the immortal trait on him now, we can see what's the effect when it spikes versus lifesteal, so that we know in the future how that interaction works. With 20 health, he'll be taking 6. He'll get 4 attacks off. He's going to take at least 58 on top. That will put him at 102. And he gets 4. So he'll be at 14, 8, 2. And then he'll die. So he'll get 3 attacks. So 19, 22. It's going to be really close. But we have a lot of different ways of getting additional damage. We have the big torch. Would that be enough? This is really tough. We will get one, but then he'll take damage. If the pyre attacks it, he'll take damage. This is more consistent. This almost guarantees. Maybe we'll still be able to science. I think it's worth it because this guarantees that we can defeat the boss, which I'd like to do it without taking any pyre damage. And we can still do science. So let's check out the science. He does heal. Okay, so interaction is lifesteal will apply before spikes. If that wasn't the case, then the Hornbreaker Prince would be dying, but as we see, he's actually healing. So he will take advantage of the lifesteal before he dies. This is really helpful to know for the future that we can always put lifesteal, and if that unit has more health than the spikes, he will survive. That's really nice to know. Okay, and then we can just to maximize, we can do an extra to 22 damage. So we got to have our cake and eat it too. We defeated the boss, and we still got to see the science of the interaction between lifesteal and spikes. So very helpful, very useful. Now the question is, what do we want to take out of Ascend, Fortify, and Molten Imp? We already have one Ascend. I don't think we need a second one because we have 2 different methods of ascending. We have the Dazed Ascend with Tiresome Climb. We also have a Standard Ascend. I don't think we need a third one. We so far don't have a lot of reason to stack a ton of units. If we could get the Alpha Fiend, the Hornbreaker Prince, and a Morsel Maker on the same floor, that could be beneficial. But I think we can already do that pretty consistently. We don't have many cards in our deck, and a lot of them are units that aren't going to continue. I mean, by the end we had 10 cards in our deck, so every other turn we were getting the card we needed. I think we can pretty consistently get Hidden Passage already. Now the question is, do we take Fortify or Molting Imp? Fortify is pretty important for a Hornbreaker Prince because he doesn't have a lot of health to be able to increase, basically increase his effective health. We already have 2 Immortal Trades, we don't need a third one. Apply Damage Shield 1 to all friendly units on that floor, and add 3 morsels. The biggest issue is that we aren't going to have a lot of Ember very consistently. Between the Emberdrain and the already low Ember amount we're getting each turn, I think it's going to be very difficult for us to play this consistently, and we don't have a lot of space for us to put a lot of morsels at once. So I think Space Prism makes more sense now. That allows us, without even having to ascend, we can play our Hornbreaker Prince, we can play the Morsel Maker, and we can play the Alpha Fiend onto the same floor. Assuming that we do it in the order of Hornbreaker Prince, Alpha Fiend, and then Morsel Maker. If we do the reverse, we can't fit them all. We don't need the Pyre Health. I would like to forge up our units to make them stronger. Do we have anything that we would duplicate? Maybe a Morsel Maker? How many units is that? 2 Morsel Makers. A Morsel Maker basically counts as 3 units because while the capacity isn't the issue, there is the issue of the actual max amount of units you can have on a floor is 7, regardless of capacity constraints. So getting 2 Morsel Makers onto the same floor doesn't provide a lot of benefit. Getting a second tiresome climb could be useful, because what we really want is to manipulate the enemy units in a way that we get slay triggers on our Hornbreaker Prince. So I think going this route, before we do that, let's check out the Umbra unit. We got a Morsel Maker anyway, Morsel Master. There is a play where we put the Morsel Maker, Morsel Master on the same floor as our Hornbreaker Prince and just stack him up with health and damage. Then he can become a tank and our heavy damage dealer. He's more likely to get slay triggers. This does mean that we don't put the Alpha Fiend up there, at least at first. But I think that trade-off is okay, and I do like the tiresome climb just to consistently get the enemy units displaced and get those slay triggers. We're going to check out the caverns. We could just put this onto our Alpha Fiend and make him an incredibly strong own unit on its own floor. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then we're able to... Wait, was that the... Did I not pay attention? Was that the Purge? No. That was just the standard one. Okay, so... Okay, I had to think about that for a second. So yeah, so he'll be on a floor on his own. Softening units, taking out front enemy units. And because he gets the strike trigger, he will also consistently get more damage. So I think that's a good second floor or bottom floor unit to start with. And then we put our Hornbreaker Prince, the Morsel Maker, and the Morsel Master on the top floor to stack up that the champion, the Hornbreaker Prince, with a ton of health and a ton of damage, helping him get more slay triggers. And the best would be if after this we can get multi-strike on him, then we really should be in a good position. Now this makes things a little bit tricky. We do want the Alpha Fiend out on the bottom floor. We could move the Hornbreaker Prince to the middle floor instead with a Morsel Master. We can't put him on the top floor because he'll die to the bomb, and the bombs have double trigger, so I would have to either not play the Alpha Fiend, which I don't think makes a lot of sense if we want to get him out early. We could also put him on the top floor, but then we don't get to take advantage of his strike, and we're basically trading the same amount of damage. The difference would be that we could reduce the damage on our Hornbreaker Prince. Do we wait on the Alpha Fiend? Let's do this. Hornbreaker Prince, Morsel Master, Torch, and we torch one of these guys out. Because I think they have... Do they have on death trigger, or is it just the rage? It's only the rage. So they're going to be very low by the time they Crap. That is a problem. We can chump block one. Okay, we can keep him alive, so we can put the armor, and then we chump block with one morsel, and we're double morsels. Okay. Okay. We'll have to wait on the morsel maker. Should have played it first. Well, we see how we go now. We will start getting slate triggers, which is good. We can put this morsel maker out just to die for no reason. So here's hoping. What do we want to do now? I think we get Shades Glitter. Let's first put the Welder Helper out, because we can still fit the Morsel Maker onto the same floor, but now we can put some extra armor. Alternatively, we can put him in the front to die, assuming that our Hornbreaker Prince will... These guys we're not worried about. Will he have enough damage? Yeah, between the two of them they should. 28, 38 after slaying. Yeah, we're fine. He'll kill the front enemy unit. And I think we actually do want the Welder Helper to absorb the damage. And then die. And then we can put the two morsels up front. We don't care. They'll end up on the Welder Helper, but that's fine. And we can put a Train Steward on the bottom. So I think we'll still be okay. At least it seems like we'll be okay so far. So he'll almost die, which is what we want. We aren't doing quite enough damage here. Our Pyre's doing 15. If we tiresome climb him, then we for sure get a Slay Trigger. I think we really want to use this on the bomb down here, or on this gentleman here. Tiresome climb. I think this is the way we do it, because my other concern is how are we going to kill both of these units? This is how I think we can do it. So, we tiresome climb him. He will die to the Pyre. He'll take 45 damage from the Pyre, he won't be able to retaliate. Then... Am I doing the math right? 28, 38. Then... We want to get the Slay Trigger. I think it's more important that we get the Slay Trigger here. We can ascend the bomb, so it blows up into nothing. We can kill him. And then we can put a Welder Helper in front to absorb the 15 damage. And take two of them out. So my initial thoughts didn't really work. I had assumed we would have had somehow I assumed we had another extra unit. Okay, good. We have the tiresome climb. So that is how we'll deal with this Forged Disciple. We're actually okay with them both teleporting to the top floor. We'll still kill everybody. So we can take out the bomb. Tiresome climb him. So he'll die to the pyre. We can put out another train steward on this bottom floor. And we can space prism the top floor. I don't think we need Emberdrain, or I don't think we need lifesteal. Cool. You get the slate trigger. I think we want the morsel maker. This is the perfect combination because the welder helper dies, but we still get the slate trigger. Or do we? -10. Oh, because he dies. Slate trigger. Two different things we can do here. We can ascend. If we ascend him, then we get the slate trigger on the Forged Disciple. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So we ascend him up. He gets dazed. Let's put more armor onto our Hornbreaker Prince. That also means that he'll be the one that's getting the morsels and our welder helper dies. So I think that's about the perfect way we can set that up. And now I think we start stacking. No, do we do lifesteal? Not yet. Good. Alright, now how do we want to play out this last floor? We can't kill it with Mind Collapse. Let's just stack a Train Steward. He will die in one hit. We don't need the energy, so we can chump block with energy and give him health, putting some more damage on the Disciple Protector. Is he already dead? He's not already dead. What if we add in more armor? What if we Tiresome Climb? Do 2 extra damage. Well, we are going to take some fire damage, but we're not going to lose. We should have used the lifesteal. 130. Wow. Wow, we almost died. Furnace Tap. Getting multi-strike guaranteed on our Hornbreaker Prince, I think, is worth it, even if we lose the mana. We don't consistently get Rage. On the bottom floor, maybe? And we are going to need Ember. We already need Ember. We have a lot of high-cost units. Then watch, we get an artifact that makes our units free, and then I feel very silly. We need the Pyre health a lot. We can get an artifact. We have a lot of gold, and the removal would be nice, but I think we need to try to survive. Getting another Daze trigger on the same floor as our Hornbreaker Prince is also very strong. We don't have... Do we have any consume triggers? We have 1. 2. I don't think that's enough. I think let's do the Light's Gift and days on top floor. So we get a lot of days, and the thing is they stack, so if we use the tiresome climb to get them to the top floor, they get 3 days, then they go up to the pyre floor, they get another days, so all of this will stack. I think that makes it even stronger. We wanted the multi-strike, then we'll be able to get multi-strike 3. So I think we're set up pretty well. We have a lot of the manipulation of the enemies. The biggest issue, start of each battle, enemies appear on each floor. Again, we're totally fine with this because even if they get to the pyre floor, they all end up dying to the pyre due to the daze, and they daze on the top floor, so we can put our Hornbreaker Prince there without worrying about him getting killed right away. So Hornbreaker Prince will get 2 Slay triggers. They don't... Oh, they give additional damage on death. That's fine. Put the Alpha Fiend on the first floor. We can torch this guy, getting rid of 6 damage. And then I think we Shade Splitter. Should have Shade Splittered on the other floor, but it is what it is. And I think we can't fit him here, so we will fit him here. So already he's at 35 or 38, and he'll never get hit because of, unless there's somebody with spikes, he's not ever going to take damage because of because of the daze on the top floor. So we can already do Morsel Maker, Morsel Master, just start stacking him up. Crucible Warden. And I think we want the extra space here so that we can fit in an imp. Or a morsel. We'll do it like that. We aren't going to get the reward for killing this guy, but I think it's fine. Okay. Give him armor. He'll kill both of them. Oh, he got dazed! I totally forgot. When they get dazed, they don't extinguish on death. Or, let me say that again. They don't get to resolve. So daze removes resolve. So flees from battle if not rooted or dazed. So we actually got a second chance to kill him. So we're gonna have the biggest Hornbreaker Prince. And he's starting to gain additional health now, which is very important for when we fight the boss. Where do we want to torch for 22? Honestly, just feel like we can torch either one of these low health guys. And we don't need lifesteal. So instead, we're holding out for the Furnace Tap to put onto our Hornbreaker Prince. Let's absorb some damage. Torch. And put a Shade Splitter. Gain some energy. We can even ascend this guy just to guarantee... Yeah, let's do that. We reduce some damage on our Crucible Warden, and we guarantee another slave trigger on our Hornbreaker Prince. Furnace tap. We can stack more armor onto this gentleman. Shade Splitter. Get more, and actually quite good. Then we get Ember back, even though we lose 4. And we're done. One energy. With 1 energy, we can kill this guy. Tiresome Climb. Immortal Trade. And he's already almost dead. 1 more energy next turn. Let's see the science of this. So we have more Emberdrain than we have energy. I assume that the Emberdrain will take care of all of our energy. 3. Oh, because the guy died. But it would have. It would have taken out all of our Emberdrain. Get rid of the self-mutilations. It's quite convenient. But we didn't take any fire damage there. Okay. And there was no way he was going to survive the Hornbreaker Prince anyway. I don't think we need any of these. Let's try Void Binding. We really need to get our spells upgraded. Perfect. Okay, this is exactly what we want. We want gold. We want removal to get rid of our train stewards. And then we really need magic damage onto our Mind Collapse to gain energy after all the Ember Drains. Minus cost for what we want to be 0 cost. Being able to always ascend, being able to always tiresome climb, being able to always get a Shade Splitter. I think having a free ascend, we don't necessarily need having this permafrosted means that we can apply it exactly when we need it. I think that makes a lot of sense. Alright, let's reroll. Hold over. Hold over on the Mind Collapse guarantees us 2 energy every turn as long as there's a unit that has less than 10 health. Extra magic power on one of our torches is fine. We can even make that torch free. I think a tiresome climb free is very valuable for us. And we can purge the last train steward, and then we'll save the rest of the gold for later. I think this is already pretty close to a run finishing deck. We don't care about the extra damage. I'm trying to think what we could add. I mean, really just putting more unit buffs could be good. But I think already this is quite strong. Just give him 15 ammo. Now ideally we can... Okay, we're gonna get this Slay Trigger for certain. We can also get a Mind Collapse at 0 cost. So we can do Alpha Fiend. Okay. Torch. After dealing a killing blow. He'll have 28. we need to do a lot more damage if we want to kill him right away. But I think we can tiresome climb him to get 2 slay triggers. 28, 38. That's really close to killing him. Let's torch. Mind collapse. Shade splitter. Give us some extra damage. And we'll keep the void binding for now. Morsel Master, Morsel Maker. Yep, he's dead. We don't have anything we can kill with the Mind Collapse. Tiresome Climb. Crucible Warden will die unless we use Void Binding. And I don't think we want to use Void Binding like that. So we'll save the Crucible Warden for later. We can just do Mind Collapse on him to soften him up. And we want to save our Ember for... Oh, Furnace Tap only costs 2. If we use this to heal back our Demon Fiend, we'll still have enough to play the Furnace Tap if we draw it. Which we did. Give him an extra multi-strike. That guarantees the defender will die. We can even gain more mana back with Mind Collapse. And other helper. Morsel. Oh, he sweeps. I mean, do we need Ember anymore? 7 Emberdrain. Okay. I think we're fine for the rest of the battle. We can even hidden passage this guy up. Take 9 damage. And we still could play out of the front hand. Yeah, this is a strong deck. I don't think we're going to lose. Now the question is, do we start just taking cards to gold back? I think we're fine with that. Feast. There is a world where we need the damage right away, and then we can feast on that floor either get the damage or health to keep a unit alive. Could happen. Would you rather buff units or spells? What would we remove? This torch? The shade splitter? We'll be able to forge units later. We could get consume removal on Furnace Tap, and then we can just continue to add multi-strike. And our main unit, the Alpha Fiend, we've already buffed once. I'm way overthinking this. We've basically already won. I just need to finish out the run. Let's go this route. Let's look at our spell forges. Double stack. Yep. Yep. Pretty good. -1 to cost. Make the other tiresome climb free. Reroll. Remove consume. I mean, I think this makes more sense actually, because we can still make it free. And once we play Furnace Tap, we don't got energy anymore. Anything else we want to consume? No, we're just going to remove this torch. Let's see what we get from the caverns first. Spike of the Hellhorned, Spike of the Stygian, Spike, Shot Spike. Let's just get Spike of the Stygian just to gold back it. So I think from here on it's pretty straightforward. We get Furnace Tap on our champion and then we win. So there you go. Let's get rid of one of our Shade Splitters, get rid of our torches. We really want to get rid of anything that doesn't either consume or have 0 cost, because we're not going to have, after we get all of our units out and once we play Furnace Tap, we're never going to get energy again except through Mind Collapse. But yeah. So we can put the Hornbreaker Prince here. He'll do 18 already. We can even sap it. Just to reduce damage. Yeah. And then he'll die from the Hornbreaker Prince next turn. Another Mind Collapse. Emberdrain 3. Looks risky. Oh, we do have the holdover. As long as we keep one of these guys alive, we can guarantee the holdover so that even if we draw the Furnace Tap, he still survives. Or, sorry, even if we draw the Furnace Tap, we can still play it, because we would have... okay, we need Morsel Master. That keeps it alive. dies. 28 times 2 is not enough to kill him. Rage 6 is 12. $12, $22, $34. Now he's alive. And we can always use this next turn. I think we do that with. And we get 2 more energy. So if we need it, we'll have it. Or no rush. This gives us the flexibility to decide how we want to use our Void Binding. We always get Mind Collapse. Yeah, more Simicker. $25. That kills him. That guy's gonna die. He will die if I play him unless I fortify him. Okay, so now we get the Slay trigger. And we fortify our Alpha Fiend. Mind Collapse him. Tiresome Climb him. Just to do some damage. He's dying. Perfect. We Mind Collapse. Well, let's see. Let's first play Mother Helper. Mind Collapse. First tap. Getting that Mind Collapse to 0, or with the magic damage, is basically what enables us to play all of these Emberdrains. I mean, he's got now 10 Emberdrain. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we have so many 0-cost spells. And our Mind Collapse allows us to continue to gain mana, because you never get negative mana. So I mean, look at this. We can play 4 out of our 5 cards, and the 5th card we don't even need to play anyway. So we're really not at risk at all. I really like this deck. It's working around the Emberdrain. I think a lot of, myself included, look at Emberdrain and think, how do you make this work? How do you play with such few, with such little Ember? And this is exactly how you play around it. You get triggers which allow you to gain Ember. You get 0-cost spells, and you're able to just endlessly stack Emberdrain and take advantage of these huge effects. And I think what's really important is that you try to get as many units out as you need, and then make sure that you're kind of timing things appropriately so that you don't end up getting Emberdrain before all of your important units are out or all of the important spells are played. So doing that kind of balance, I think, is quite important. And the fact that we got the Mind Collapse is really what's enabling us to do a lot of this stuff. Okay, he's now doing 75 times 4. We can Tiresome Climb one of these guys just to get an earlier trigger. We can do a Space Prism. It doesn't really matter where. We can put it on the bottom. We give him more Immortal Trade, and we can do 10 damage to the boss. And then we'll just quickly get through the rest of these turns. Beast. Oh, that's interesting. We actually could have... No, we don't need any more. We're already at almost max. We can ascend a second one. Mind Collapse. And I'm actually going to torch my own guy here so that we can get a full... He's blocking one of the morsels from showing up. So anyway, how's everybody doing? Hope you're enjoying watching. Just a reminder, if you like the video, feel free to like and subscribe, and check me out on Twitch. Twitch.tv/NeverNathaniel with an underscore, never_Nathaniel. This has been a really fun run. I think, as I said, I think it would be amazing for us to lose at this point. I mean, we're going to be doing 400 damage to the boss right now. I'm just going to play it out here. Should be at Final Wave. Do we even kill him on Final Wave? If I use Mind Collapse. Or, sorry, Immortal Trade. Honestly, we can even just finish this now. Let's just finish it now. Tiresome Climb. Hidden Passage. Space Prism. My class. He's not even going to attack. Yeah, the stacking of the dazed as well basically ensures that we can't lose. Okay, Umberstone. Sure. As I said, right now we can just gold back stuff. To make up for some of the really crappy cards that we're getting into our deck, I'm going to do the draw. Make it more consistent that we get to the cards that we need. So if you think about it, we took a card that's bad, but we get an extra draw, and I think that balances it out quite well. What do we want to duplicate? Humans get multi-strike. Sure. At this point, getting another Void Binding could be quite helpful. Getting another Furnace Tap. At 2 mana, we can still play it as long as we can take out another unit. Sure. And then we want Slay Trigger. Yeah. Multi-strike times 6, Slay 10 or Slay 20. And the units can't retaliate on him. We don't even care about the spikes. If we can get a damage shield or any armor onto our champion, then he's safe. Deal 5 damage to the front enemy unit on death. Extinguished triggers are a little bit tricky. Then they throw the curveball at you, and do we want to already get... Do we already want to start with no energy? Emberdrain 8. We have a second one. I think that's way too much. And at the very first, this is again, if it's about managing, I think this is way too early for us to get. We can branding right one of them now. We'll kill 2 more. The biggest issue is going to be our Hornbreaker Prince doing enough damage to kill the Gilded Wing. He will take so much damage at the beginning here. Doing an Immortal Trade isn't terrible though. He'll heal up most of the damage that he takes. And I actually think we use Branding Right on our Hornbreaker Prince just to get extra armor on him. So, Hornbreaker Prince, Branding Right, Alpha Beam, and I think we need the life steal to keep him alive. We will get a Slay Trigger, that's very helpful. What's the spikes? 5. Spikes 5. So 4 hits. And it will take 4 hits. We can give him damage shield 2 and extra rage. This one's a little bit trickier. He will take 13. Negated 5, 10. He's going to get 20 from this. We will need Mind Collapse. We can ascend a unit. We can also give him lifesteal. Hire some climbs. Problem is we can't use our torches unless we are able to use Mind Collapse. This is tricky. This is much more difficult than the last battle. My biggest concern is being able to kill this guy off. And putting the Morsel Maker behind isn't going to make a difference. Rage 6 is going to... So 56 plus 10. 66 is not enough to kill him. And then we can save this just to see if we need it for next turn. Still have not gotten Mind Collapse. do it like that. Sorry for being so quiet. I was really in the tank there trying to sort out what's the best way to do these floors. I think this does it for us. Ideally, we can get some armor. We get a mine collapse. That's really what we need. Okay, so we mine collapse him. One of them. He doesn't quite die yet. We can put a welder helper up there. I think we mine collapse him. Get the welder helper. He's still dying. So we have to kill one of them. He will have enough almost to take out one guy by himself. Armor. Still 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow, this is got really, really difficult all of a sudden. Alright, now we should be in a fine shape. We can use Mine Collapse here, get our energy back, put our Morsel Maker up top to start getting damage shield. He gets Trample. That would give him... I don't think it's enough. I think instead we need to put it on him. he will get a lot of extra triggers. Ideally we get Feast soon. We can put Emberdrain on our champion, do 10 damage, and Tiresome Climb to finish him off. Wow. Okay, after all my talk about it being quite easy, that ended up being much more difficult than I was expecting. It consumes, we can get out of the deck, it's free. Getting Ember Cash will also help a lot with dealing with those turns where we have massive Ember Drain. Alright, I think we're on the final fight. We don't need to duplicate any more. I think getting some buffs on units, healing up our pyre, and then getting let's start with the Merchant of Trinkets. Each time an enemy unit dies, add 2 morsel units to your hand. You summon the second unit, gain 3 energy. I think enemies get -1 is fine. They are 0 cost. I don't think we need this. Oh! Morsels count as units. We need this. Units get an extra upgrade slot. Let's stick with that, and then let's see what upgrades we can put on units. Another multi-strike onto our Alpha Fiend sounds fine. Upgrading our Alpha Fiend with more damage and health also sounds fine. Upgrading our Crucible Ward with extra health. Giving him more health and damage. And then we can end with giving one of our morsels. Oh, let's just stack them up. Cool. So, I actually think this is going to be a much easier fight than the last one. He does get rid of buff effects, which does mean lifesteal, rage, and damage shields. But even then, I think we're okay. Ember Prince, Morsel Maker. We can do a Shade Splitter, get some energy next turn, put some armor on him. Torch that guy. Cool. 2 free slate triggers? Wait, why is he dying? Oh. He didn't get dazed. Interesting. We can't sap him though. So we'll do, we need the Morsel Maker here. We can Tiresome Climb it. We'll put Alpha Fiend. Branding Rant's enough to keep him alive. And then we wait to play our Crucible Warden. Alternatively, we play Crucible Warden, Morsel Maker, Tiresome Climb. One of these should be enough. Wait, why are they both doing damage? Oh, he cleansed their days. That's why. I think giving him the extra armor is going to be the best, because that could be a problem in general anyway, is that he is struggling to get... will he have enough damage to take out the Harvest Wings? Now, they're probably not going to get days removed again, so I think what we can do is Branding Right him to give him enough armor to survive. Morsel Master... Tiresome Climb. We can play the Crucible Warden. And we can even sap. Well, What would we sap? He's gonna put Emberdrain on us. If we give him 0, he doesn't put Emberdrain on us. We do Emberdrain on our own terms. And what would be really great is to get Feast. But we didn't get it. We do get Ember Cash. Furnace Tap. Jeweler. There's our extra mana. Or extra Ember. What do we want to get armor onto? Let's get armor onto our... Can't, so let's put our armor down here. He'll kill all 3 of them. We can even tiresome climb one of them. He'll still kill all 4. And collapse on the boss. So now we're back to no mana. We can put Rage onto our champion. We have Mind Collapse. We can put Void Binding. Let's Feast. Feast there or down here. Start with Mind Collapse on one of these guys. Right, yeah. Mortal Trade. Heal him back up. And then we wait on him until we can fit him on the bottom floor. Up there. Bless you. Morsels down. Furnace Tap even more. We can even torch. Or we can double his armor. Let's do that. And he's going to do 980 casual damage to us. Yeah, I think we're going to be just fine this battle. Still a little bit of thinking needed, but not nearly as much as in the last battle. That was the big getting in the tank battle for me. All right, let's do an Ember. Put another Immortal Trait on him to keep him nice and ready. Let's move you up so that you also die. Mind Collapse. Morsel, and we force this. Now let's get to the end. 2, 3, 4. If I wanted to, I can even move him up. Just kill him on the second floor. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Good fight. That was really fun one. Basically made our guy invincible. Multi-strike times 6. I think this was a good example of how to use Emberdrain effectively and still have a deck which is capable of playing cards every turn. So again, this is Nate. You can call me Nathan. You can call me Spiky Ankles for today, but never call me Nathaniel. And hope you enjoyed the video. Again, if you want to check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/nevernathaniel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.